Saw you paint a picture of a face, a face that wasn't even close to mine. I know I shouldn't be in love, but it's so hard to move on. You haven't changed, you stayed the same. But if you did, I'd still love you anyway.
First reading update. I am on page 53, so not very far. I actually started the book and then we ended up going out and getting lunch and doing some grocery shopping and then coming home and taking a really big nap. And I woke up, I made a London fog latte, and then I jumped in. I also have this available on audiobook, so I probably will finish this tonight. That is the plan, because I have 2 other books I would like to read. I'm trying to read all 3 of my book of the months in the same video, but I also don't want the video to go on and on and on. Anyway, so I didn't read the full synopsis of this. I know it's about a couple that takes these 2 college friends to this island in the middle of the ocean, and then I think they get deserted or reckless things happen. So far, it's really just setting up the characters, how they met, and the couple, how they met, and where they are in their life now. And then the 2 girls bump into Nico as they're trying to charter a boat out to this tiny island in the middle of the ocean. I guess the boat that they were going to hire wasn't there, or the guy that they were going to talk to wasn't there, and they saw Nico, so they started talking to him about it, and he was like, hey, because I guess they're going to pay like $50,000. They're just now headed to the island, so they're on the boat headed to the island, and so far everything seems on the up and up for the most part. Maybe slight little things here or there, like, oh, that didn't settle right, and oh, that was a little weird. But I also think it has to do with the paranoia of Lux, because these 2 beautiful girls and her really handsome boyfriend, and you know, it's cramped quarters.
I'd give you the world like I promised I would, even though you wouldn't do the same. I'd give you the world like I promised I would, even though you wouldn't do the same.
Quick update on The Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. I am currently on page 127, chapter 13, and I'm definitely enjoying it, but I'm not sure where the story's headed. I'm still getting like before and now chapters from both Nico and Lux and Brittany and Emma, and it seems like both sets, like the couple and the friendship, both have things in their past that we're learning slowly throughout the story. It is going fairly quickly, which I like. I'm interested to see where it's going. They have arrived at the island now, and things have happened. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going with this one. Can't really tell you too much because not that much has happened, number one, and I kind of don't know what's going to happen with this one. Good morning, friends. It is, what time is it? I do not know. It is 9 a.m. Sunday morning, and I need to make another coffee. One was not enough this morning. Yes, our tree is still up. I actually have all of the boxes over there that you can probably see right there at the very corner. We have all of our Christmas decorations down except for our tree, our skirt, and my husband needs to pack that up. But yeah, everything else is packed up, so don't judge me too hard. Anyway, I finished Reckless Girls last night by Rachel Hawkins, and it is fairly short. It's definitely page turning. It's a little over 300. It's 309 pages, which I think is actually the perfect length for this. I didn't feel like it dragged at all. It basically told the story that it wanted to tell, and it was done. I didn't know this was going to be a reimagining of And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. If you remember, the Wife Upstairs that she released last year was a retelling of sorts of a Jane Eyre story, which I haven't read. I also haven't read And Then There Were None. And there are so many times that that book is referenced. I did try to read it once, but I've read several retellings or reimaginings of that story. I feel like at some point I just need to bite the bullet and actually read that story. What I will say is that I liked the island aesthetic, the island vibes. So you have a couple, Lux and Nico, and they take Brittany and Emma to this seemingly like off the beaten path island for just a little off the beaten path adventure. They're gonna stay out there for I think like a week or something like that, and then come back. So they start in Maui and they go to this island, and the island is known to have this like dark history, and I wish that we would have gotten more of that, but it says that a mysterious history of shipwrecks, cannibalism, and even rumors of murder. It kind of tells you everything here. One island, 6 visitors, countless secrets. And that's basically how I would sum up this book. Is you have an island that these people go to. They end up meeting other people there. There's a little bit of island life. There's a lot of secrets that are told in these like flashback before chapters, kind of revealing everybody's motives and what got them to this point in the story.
3 of them I can't bear listening to. I'd give you the world like I promised I would, even though you wouldn't do the same.
I wanted to let you guys know that I made it to chapter 5, 55 pages in now, and sorry about that. And I am enjoying it. I like the main character. I like the setup. I'm liking the pacing and the writing and everything. So basically the maid Molly is a maid at this hotel, and she finds one of the prominent businessmen, Mr. Black, dead in his hotel room. And because of the characteristics of Molly, she doesn't express herself the way other people do. She doesn't have those like social cues that other people do. So she comes across as very blunt and straight and to the point, and that makes her seem a little suspicious. But from what we know, she had nothing to do with this, but she's also trying to protect Mr. Black's wife, Giselle. It's his second wife, and that might be her downfall. So we shall see where it goes, but I'm enjoying it so far, and I can't wait to figure out the rest of the story.
I'd give you the world like I promised I would, even though
Christmas tree is down. These are decorations under there. Decorations over here. Actually, these are our ornaments, and then these are our wreaths and stuff, and then all that's decorations. That's decorations, and under the tree is decorations. But my husband just took down the tree. All right, friends, great news. Just in time for me to go to bed. I finished The Maid by Nita Prose. I'm rating this story 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was super interesting. This is Nita Prose's debut, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I think that maybe it focused a little too hard on the character, like in the beginning, and the pace didn't pick up until she finds the dead body in the hotel room. So if you don't know what this is about, basically it's about this maid that works in this really like luxury hotel, and it seems like that she's on the autism spectrum somewhere. It never explicitly says that. Molly doesn't use that terminology for herself. It's nowhere in the book itself, but it does say that she struggles with social skills and misreads the intentions of others, and that she relied on her grandmother to interpret the world around her, codifying it into simple rules that Molly could live by. So it sounds like it to me, but again, that's just my assumptions based on what I read. But I absolutely loved Molly as a character. I found her super endearing, and I don't think the purpose of this novel, it like says that it's a both a clue-like locked room mystery. I mean, there is a mystery, but it's kind of obvious what's going on to the reader. It's more about Molly figuring out what's going on, and there's lots of mini conversations going on about like class and wealth and just like what it means to be different, having someone in the country illegally. There's just lots of other mini conversations thrown in as well. It is fairly short, so it's only 285 pages, which I think is the perfect length for the story, because like I said, it is more about Molly kind of figuring things out and stuff like that. Her gran like passed, and now she doesn't have her gran to rely on to help her, you know, understand what different things mean and stuff like that. So she's kind of like thrust in this situation where she finds this dead body. She kind of becomes a suspect, and she doesn't really know how to get herself out of it, so she just has to rely on her truth, and she speaks her mind. And I don't know, I just found it really lovely. I really liked it. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I'll definitely keep Nita Prose on the mind for anything new that's coming, maybe next year or something like that. Next up, last book for the vlog is Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. So it's so interesting that like Nita Prose and Anita Kelly. Anyway, this one, I don't really know too much about it other than it is an LGBT romance story. So I'm gonna go ahead and read the little flap here. And this one is the longest of the 3. This one is 367 pages, but the font seems to be a little bit bigger, so hopefully I'll get through this one just as fast. Basically, Friday night I finished a book that I was reading, and then yesterday I read a book, today I read a book, so maybe I'll finish this one tomorrow, who knows. There's nothing like a little competition to heat things up. Dahlia Woodson culinary dreams are coming true. Sure, her marriage ended in a hideous explosion of misery, and she's quit her job for the gamble of a lifetime, but she's finally a contestant on the cooking show Chef's Special. Now all Dahlia has to do is not fall on her face more than once, make the best food of her life, and try not to get distracted by her hot, incredibly dishy competition. London Parker is fighting for more than just a cooking title. Not only did they just come out as non-binary on national television, but this is an opportunity for London to raise some support and a ton of cash for the queer community. No pressure. Getting distracted by a tiny and adorable tornado like Dahlia could be disastrous. Still, somewhere among the flying fish tacos, rampant egos, and culinary chaos is something that looks a lot like deliciously spicy chemistry. But can London and Dahlia's growing relationship take the heat, or are they about to get burned? So I'm not exactly sure who is who on the cover. Looking forward to reading this, and I will let you know my thoughts. I'm gonna go ahead and start it tonight, and I'll let you know any thoughts tomorrow morning. Hello. I'm here with a reading update for Love and Other Disasters. But first, I just want to touch on something else. It's been 10 days since I finished The Maid and I started this. So there's been a large chunk of time between Reckless Girls, The Maid, and then this one. My January did not go how I planned for it to go. Can we predict life? Apparently not. A lot has been going on with jury duty, with my family and my uncle and all of that. And it's just kind of thrown me through a loop. And plus, this didn't release until yesterday, January 18th. And I wanted to listen to it on audio. So I started it yesterday on the 18th. And I only made it to chapter 3. So that's page 30. This is about the main characters, Dahlia and London. And from the descriptions of the people I know, this is Dahlia and this is London. Dahlia identifies as female and London identifies as non-binary and uses they, them pronouns. And both of them are going on to this. It sounds like Chopped. Have you ever seen that show on the Food Network? Chopped. That's what it sounds like they're doing. So it's like this cooking competition where people get knocked out in different rounds. But it seems like it's like a bigger cast of people. But yeah, it's like a Food Network type cooking competition show where they're going to be there for more than just like a day. It seems like they're going to do like, you know, stay there, do one segment, then the next day do the next segment, and so on. So it's just about them getting to know each other. It was introducing the characters in the show and like how they met and stuff like that. And I think it's going to be their romance story. So I'm really looking forward to that and the conversations that it has with non-binary and pronouns and all of that. I did not read much this afternoon. My whole day's been kind of taken up. My mother-in-law came over, so I had a weird sleeping night. I slept from 12 until 4:20, woke up, was up from 4:20 until 6:30, and then I slept from 6:30 until 9 or 9:30. Then I had to vacuum the house, clean the kitchen. My mother-in-law came over and she had lunch over here, so she was here from 11:30 to, I don't know, 2 maybe. And then I cleaned up. I did a little bit of computer work. Then I tried to read, which I did read a little, but then I took a nap. And right now I'm getting ready to go to my uncle's wake. So that's this evening's plans. Alright, quick update. I am on page 162. Still have a ways to go. And I am listening to it on audio, but I'm really not getting much out of this story, unfortunately. It has good representation, and I think that that is important and stuff like that. But as far as like holding my personal entertainment, nothing is happening. They're on this cooking show. These two characters are getting to know each other, and that's really it. All right, I'm here to update you on Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly, and this will probably be my last update until I finish the book. I am currently on chapter 18, page 262, so I don't have like too much more to go. It is slow going because I do feel like I'm just slugging my way through this. I'm not really enjoying myself. I'm not enjoying the romance. I'm not learning anything new or different. The plot has taken the back seat to the characters and the message that the book is trying to push. And while I think that learning about the things that this book is trying to teach you is important, it's lessons that I have personally already learned myself. So the main storyline is you have two characters, Dahlia and London. Dahlia, I believe, identifies as she and her, and then London goes by they and them, and is non-binary, and there's other things revealed throughout the story as well about their sexuality and stuff like that. But the main thing is that they are on this cooking show called Chef's Special. I think I mentioned before, it's almost like a Chopped, you know, Food Network show. But it seems that the competition, there's a lot of people. So I guess it's almost like the Gordon Ramsay, like Hell's Kitchen type competition too, where there's different rounds. There's like elimination rounds. There's head-to-heads. There's, I don't know, real world application things. So I don't know an exact show that replicates it, but basically if you've seen a cooking show, a reality show, cooking show on the Food Network, that's basically what they're on. So they're in LA. Dahlia is from Maryland and London lives in Nashville, but they are in LA doing the show with other contestants, and it's just going through them meeting each other, getting to know each other, getting to know other contestants, going through the competitions, although it's not going in depth about any of those things. I always feel like it's just skimming the surface. And if I had to guess, I'm pretty sure this is probably Anita Kelly's debut, just because it doesn't seem to have any depth. It's not explaining the deeper meanings behind being non-binary, or like Dahlia, she's divorced from her husband and living in Baltimore by herself, and she's feeling some things because of that. But it's not going into that. It's just telling rather than showing. And it's just kind of lacking for me. And while it's like, I hate to do this because I'm literally not enjoying any part of this, I want to see the two characters end up happy, but I'm not necessarily rooting for them to be together. If they end up together, great, yay, wonderful. If they end up doing something else, great, wonderful, as long as they're happy. Whoever wins the cooking show, great, wonderful. I really don't care who wins. So I feel it's all like low stakes. I'm not being pulled in by like the characters or the story or the plot or the pacing or really anything. All right, can we pretend that I don't look terrible right now and just talk about the fact that I finished this book? So finally finished this one, you guys. I read these 3 books, and this was definitely my least favorite of the entire 3. I'll go more into my thoughts, but if you want me to rank them from my favorite to my least favorite to my favorite was The Maid. Highly recommend you pick this one up. It is slower paced. It is obvious what's going on to you as the reader. It's more about Molly figuring it out. Reckless Girls, I would also say skip because it was also very boring. I liked the island vibes. Everything else kind of sucked. And this one, unfortunately, is a major pass as well. I feel like this is a YA book masquerading as an adult rom-com. The conversations do not go in depth like they need to about queer identity or really Dahlia reinventing herself after her divorce. It has basically very little to do with London being non-binary. There's a slight conversations between them and their family, but for the most part, people accept them. It is kind of I don't know, empowering and brave that they went on this like reality cooking show and came out to America, but they feel very sure of themselves. It's not like they were like, should I or shouldn't I? They just always were like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. So it all felt very low stakes. And like I said, the conversations that they had about, you know, Dahlia and London and queer identity and reinventing yourself and family and all of that, it just felt so stale, so old, so young, you know. Like, this is a book that a young adult can read to see what it's like to be a little bit more confident in your sexuality. But for an adult rom-com, no, this is not where it's at. It did not have enough depth. It felt very low stakes. Like I said, like, I didn't care who won the competition. I didn't care if London and Dahlia ended up together. Yes, it did have some sexy scenes, but it didn't feel like risque or like a young adult couldn't read this. So I ended up rating this 2 out of 5 stars. I am sad because I wanted to love it. I wanted to be able to recommend it, but just for the lack of depth, character development, plot development, there was nothing redeeming about this except for they chose to have a non-binary character and a recent divorcee. Other than that, literally nothing else. Who cares? You know, it just, no. So that was my book of the month reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was somewhat helpful if you were interested in any of these books, if you wanted to pick them up on your own or add them on to next month's box. But that's all for today's video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all having a lovely day or night, and I'll see you guys again in another video very soon. Bye guys.